Hello, thanks for joining me. Today we are going to talk about why one of my pieces of art that I've made is my favorite of all the stuff I've made today. So since I never had children of my own, I sometimes see my art as my babies. And with human babies, playing favorites is frowned upon, right? But with art babies, that rule doesn't apply, which is a good thing because I definitely have a favorite piece of all the stuff I've made. So in this week's video, I'm sharing the textured fiber painting I'm most proud of. And to find out why it's my favorite, keep watching and keep listening. So we are going to tilt the camera at one point so you can see it hanging on the wall behind me. So I've been creating art quilts since 1998, and as you might imagine, in that time I've made quite a few, and yet there is one that stands out as my favorite piece. And the odd thing is I don't think I chose it as my favorite. Instead, I think it chose me. So while I've been creating fiber art for over 20 years, it wasn't until 2014 when I got serious about turning my creating into a regular, consistent practice that's when I truly connected to my work. And prior to that time, I made my art when I felt like it. And so some years I made several pieces and some years I made none. And so 2014 was this real turning point for me as an artist in terms of creating very regularly. But everything didn't come together right away. My primary focus that year was just to make one piece and then make another and then another and then another until the practice of creating became a habit one I couldn't live without. So I made 4 pieces in 2014. I didn't start until June. I made 8 in 2015 and I made a whopping 13 pieces in 2016. All of this while working a full-time job. So at some point, I think it was in 2016, I started working in a series where I created 8 crosses in what I call my hot cross collection. And I chose to create a series because I was on a mission to find my artistic voice, and making the same thing in different ways is one of the paths to get there. So as 2017 got underway, I finished up my hot cross series. And some of these were made as square or rectangular pieces. However, several others were made in the shape of a cross, meaning the whole piece is cross-shaped and it's not a cross on a square or rectangular background. So this not square method of creating felt incredibly aligned, but I didn't know where I wanted to take it until I did. So during a phone call with my artist mentor one evening, when we were talking about the artist's voice and my journey to find mine, it struck me with the vibrancy of a neon sign that making not square was part of my voice. And we discussed how it felt to think about making not square, and I suddenly sat back in my chair like I'd been shoved there. Because in that moment, I knew what I wanted to make. I knew where I was going to take not square. And where I was going to take my not square art was into the world of feelings. So as an empath, I have always felt more. I feel more of my own feelings and I feel more of yours. So I can see feelings in my third eye. I know what they look like. And so bringing them into light as a tangible object, making them visible, felt like what I'd been trying to do my entire life but hadn't been able to do until then. So the first feeling I made in my feelings series was Inflamed. And it's the smallest in the series as it was my experiment, and it is my favorite. And I'm going to turn the camera, or tilt you now so you can see it. If you look at the wall behind me, keep my head still in here, it's the piece in the center. So you can see actually 3 of my crosses surrounding it, and then it's the red piece in the center, and then there's another feeling up above it to your right or left. I'm not really sure with the camera. So anyway, we'll leave the camera tilted that way. And the reason Inflamed is my favorite and the piece I am most proud of is because it was the first art piece I created using the clarity I'd found in my artist's voice. And it's my favorite because it was the experiment and the experiment worked. And it's my favorite because it grounds me when I look at it. And it's my favorite because it fires me up and motivates me when my energy is low. And I'm most proud of Inflamed because it looks exactly like the vision of what it means to feel inflamed that I can see in my mind's eye. And then on sort of a really kind of practical level, I'm proud of Inflamed because when I chose it as my entry in my former Artists Guild quarterly show, I told my partner that I believed it would win a prize, and it took 2nd place. So, as always, most of my art is for sale, and Inflamed is no different. For all that I love looking at it regularly, it is no different. It is for sale. So while it may be my favorite piece of all the art I've made, and the one I am most proud of, it's also time for this baby of mine to find a home of its own where it can motivate, ground, and inspire someone else. And I'm curious if that someone is you. So if you're ready for a private virtual showing of my art, whether specific to Inflamed or any other piece I've made, let me know, send me a message, drop me a DM, get in touch in some way, shape, or form, and we'll schedule an appointment to get that set up on the calendar. And then if you liked what you saw and heard today, please think of the one person you know, and you know there's at least one person who would also really love to see this too, and share it with them. So that's all I've got for you today. And we'll talk again soon. Take care. Get in touch. Let me show you my art. All right? Take care. Bye-bye.